Happy Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 21 on the Let's Go Devils podcast channel on the Primetime Radio Network, powered by Nova Product Design. Well, we're doing something a little bit different this week for episode 21. Nick Villano, our normal co-host, is, well, let's just say he's on a business trip right now. So we have him on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline, powered by Nova Product Design. Nick, welcome to your own podcast. How are you, man?
Sam, I don't care if I'm in expletive New Jersey, expletive Tampa, or expletive Pittsburgh. I was going to keep my rights with the Let's Go Devils podcast.
That's great. That is consistency, Nick. I'll even add that is commitment towards the fans of the State of the Fan Address, especially episode 21, because heck, we're going to talk about Pavel Zacha and the last 3 days and the Devils prospects. I don't know where you want to start, but let's start with Pavel Zacha and the last few days. Where do you want to start off, Nick, with that KHL signing that came out of nowhere a few days ago?
I think we got to start with that, right? We got to start with the power move that Pavel Zacha attempted and the literal drubbing that Ray Shero did to this poor 22-year-old man, tearing him apart in the media. It was a lot, Sam. So you got Pavel Zacha everybody knows by now. Pavel Zacha, quote unquote, agreed to terms. KHL team. I believe it's pronounced Avant-Garde, something like that. But whatever, doesn't matter because he's not going there. But it was clearly just a. Let's see what kind of negotiating strategy we can use. And Ray Shero said that Zacha told them about this happening, I think he said a week ago. And then, they leaked it to the media. And I don't know if you know this, Sam, but nobody who's been a Devils general manager likes when things get out in the media. Lou did not like it, and Pavel Zacha, Ray Shero does not like it either. So this didn't sit well with Mr. Shero, and Mr. Shero said a couple dirty words to an AP reporter in regards to the situation. Brampton got a couple search engine results thanks to Mr. Shero, so it was interesting. But the end result is Pavel Zacha staying with the Devils for the next 3 years.
Yeah, and I think it was just bound to happen. I was a little surprised there because just from the onset, Nick, I just felt that signing with the KHL was completely unnecessary. And of course, I was trying to think of other scenarios. Does this have anything to do with the upcoming CBA, issue that may arise in the next few days? Did you find it kind of like what was there to gain by doing something like that for Pavel Zacha? And was he chasing after pennies or something like that? Because it just didn't make any sense to me whatsoever why they did that. I think we lost Nick Villano. Yep, we lost Nick. Sorry about the technical difficulties that we're having, Devils fans. So basically, I will not say the curse words at all. But the quote was pretty much, from Ray Shero to the AP, I don't give a blah if he signs with the K Shell or if he signs with blah blah Brampton, I don't give a blah where we hold his rights. So you know, you don't really know why, but why they did it. But right now, I will need to get Nick back on. So let's take a little break right now, and I will try to get Nick on. Let me just switch over. I'll be right back. Welcome back. We apologize. We've been having a lot of technical difficulties here on the State of the Fan address that we are actually addressing. No pun intended. I got Nick back on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline, but maybe after the podcast, I'll throw the ISP company's name, and them under the bus because, this is what happens. But anyway, Nick, you're back on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline. So we were talking about Pavel Zacha, and I did ask you a question. I mean,
yeah, I got your question.
Yeah. So what was the point of it? What was the point of doing all that when you know that you're going to come back to New Jersey?
I mean, that part I don't understand fully. Why he would? I mean, what I think is happening is that Pavel Zacha tried to pull a big boy move, and maybe it was. I don't know if it was. I don't want to say it was bad advice from his agent because I don't know what he wanted. So I don't know if this contract that he got was what he wanted. Maybe it was. Maybe it was only looking for a little over $2 million on a 3-year deal. Because then he gets arbitration. The last year of his deal is $3 million. So that's what his qualifying offer is going to be. He's going to get a $3 million. So maybe he did get a lot of the things that he wanted. But I can't imagine that Ray Shero would have let this draw out as long as it did if this is what he wanted. This seemed like a pretty simple contract to get done. So the thing I was talking about last week before Zacha, I think this was when you were going to get one of our guests. I was talking to the fans on the Facebook, and I was telling them, I think that Zacha didn't sign yet at that point because of his role, more than money, more than anything else, because he's for the past 2 or 3 seasons, he's been the second line center. Well, guess who just showed up? Mr. Jack Hughes, Mr. America, Captain America, is about to steal his job. So now you're going to take a guy who's used to get 19 minutes a game, power play time, offensive upside all over the place. Somebody who's going to be like everything to this team, and now he's a fourth line guy who kills penalties. That's not the role that he was drafted to be. And I understand we have to kind of let go of the fact that he was drafted 6th overall. I've been one of the people saying that too because he's really good at things he's good at. So he kind of do have to let that go. But the fact of the matter is that in his head, he's still a 6th overall pick. in his head, he's still, one of the top guys drafted in that draft. That includes Matthew Barzal and Mika Rantanen, Zach Werenski, and a lot of other people. So I think that him staring down his role of being a glue guy, a John Madden type, I don't know if that's set particularly well with him, but maybe Ray just needed to drill it into his head that he is an important part. I mean, you saw the quote that Ray sent out after he signed him, is that Zacha is an integral part of this team, and he's a very important piece. So maybe that's all I needed to hear.
Yeah, but there's a certain way to do things, and I mean, I was a little confused, from my standpoint. I honestly thought that maybe a one of those warning signals, with the collective bargaining agreement. I mean, I believe it's September 15th that the NHLPA will. Yeah, I don't think it is either. I think it was just an unnecessary play of the cards, but the deal got done. So, and I thought the deal he got was pretty fair. When you believe, yeah.
I mean, I agree with that. I think it's telling that he signed it the next day. I think it's very telling that that tells me that Ray got a little bit more than what he wanted than what Pavel got, because, I mean, if you're going to make that kind of a power play, and then Ray's going to have the reaction that he had, I don't think Ray's the one who's going to, give concessions. I think that that's going to be the player, because the player tried to power move. It backfired. From everything I'm gathering, it looked like it backfired, and it looked like it was bad advice. And then he got a contract that we can all be happy with, though. So, the end result is we're all happy. The end result is he's going to start camp on time. We saw what that did to Miles Wood last year when he missed a large part of camp in the preseason. Took him, he was very inconsistent for the first 3 months. So getting him in here, it's a very important year for Pavel. Everything I'm hearing from what he's saying, what the New Jersey Devils have put out, saying that he's been looking at tape. That's exactly what he needs to be doing. He made a lot of mistakes. He missed a lot of open opportunities. He was very timid. He's not using that big body like he should. He's got a wicked shot when he wants to use it, but he's not using it, so we don't really see it. He had to get sent down to the AHL last year just to get his mind right. So we got to, if he's looking at tape and he says that he sees those issues, he says that he sees the mistakes he's made, this is going to be a great contract. This is going to be great value. He can even be a guy who scores 15, 20 goals from the fourth line. He's got that kind of skill. I don't expect that, because I don't want to put those kind of expectations on the guy. But he does have that ability.
Well, here are a lot of things I like about this, what happened. All right. And now it's a dead issue. Number one, I liked how Ray Shero actually handled it. He won a lot of praise from, because we saw some of the quotes out there, what he said, after, a reporter, an AP reporter had asked him about that. And he now really, Ray Shero means business. I mean, for Devils fans, all we've known for so long is how Lou Lamoriello does business. Ray Shero is no softy. He means business, and he does it in his own way. And this is his team right now. That's what I loved about, if there's any kind of positives coming out of we assume Pavel getting bad advice. I like that, because it'll tell the other would-be free agents not to mess around with Ray. Also, what I liked, I think Todd Cordell tweeted something out about, I don't remember the exact content of his tweet, but it was very interesting, saying that Pavel Zacha, in terms of, I guess, his defensive side. Do you remember that tweet? Did you see that tweet today?
Are you talking about the penalty kill, the advanced stat on the penalty kill where he's third in the league?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's penalty killing where he's, I believe, third in the league.
Yeah. So, and being, it kind of reminds me, not so much the style of play, but it's just the maturation process almost reminds me a little bit of Bobby Holik when he started off with the Whalers, Then he was traded to the Devils, and sometimes it takes time for a big centerman to grow on his own and get those points. We're waiting for those points. And he was picked pretty high. And, and there's going to be comparisons between him and Ivan Provorov, on the Flyers, because they got a gem on the blue line. But I think I like this deal. It's a low risk. Pavel is getting some money his way. You got 3 years. There's no pressure on him. Let him grow. Let Pavel be Pavel. And I think that's where I see a lot of positives. And I'm glad they got it done. Now, had they got this deal done in October 15th, we won't be saying that, but it got done the next day. Like, there was no BS. And that's what I liked, after that, whole thing with the KHL. Me personally, I just like what happened afterwards, and I think it's all good right now.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Zacha is a player. He's a very important player of the Devils. There's a couple people, and we got some flack because we kind of wrote a piece where it was kind of like almost like good riddance. So we got a lot of flack for that. But I think that there are people out there who have that feeling that when he was leaving, they're like, bye, bye, Felicia. They were not sad, and that's because of what he's done on the ice so far. So, like I said, this season for Pavel Zacha is one of the most important seasons of anyone on the ice for this Devils team. Thinking off the top of my head, maybe Nico's season's a little more important. But beyond that, Bull Butcher is another guy who's, maybe, but I'd probably still put Zacha a little ahead of him. Blake Coleman's a guy I think has a very important season, but he's a little older. So, Zacha, he's probably somewhere in the third or fourth most important. I need to see what you do this season because you are either an integral part of the future or you're a guy that I need to just place in a role, basically.
Well, exactly. And don't forget, not so much from a Devils standpoint, but for a personal standpoint, Wayne Simmons. I mean, he's got a chip on his shoulder as well. He needs a big season, if he wants to continue in the National Hockey League and making pretty good money. I mean, he's betting on himself right now with that 1-year deal, and and I see a lot of these players. They're going to be hungry, and don't forget Taylor Hall. He's on a contract year right now. And, a lot of us fans are, why haven't you signed already? But that could be, that story could be dragged on for months. I just hope they can get a deal now. But, I think everybody is kind of curious to see how Hall reacts on the ice, after that, pretty serious injury to his knee.
Yeah, I mean that's the professional transition from our professional broadcaster Sam Wu. But he, talking about Hall, I thought it was very interesting what Ray said at the prospects tournament about Hall, about how he said that they're going to finally sit down in September, right? So we've heard a lot of rumors about what's going on with Hall. We've heard that John Hines went up to Toronto. We've heard that they've had an open dialogue with his agent. But this is the first time that they've confirmed that him and Taylor Hall are going to sit down and talk numbers. Now, this is significant to me because that means that if they don't get a contract done, that means they talked numbers and decided against making a deal. Now, I don't think that means that the deal's not going to happen. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that they've talked numbers and that they didn't come to an agreement yet. So if this is I feel like that this could be a cut and dry situation. Ray Shero is making it sound like it is absolutely just working on the dots and the T's and crossing some things and working a couple things out, while, everything we've heard from Taylor is a little bit different. So if it is as Ray Shero says, them sitting down should be a place where they can work all those things out, get those contracts done, and we should hear something by the end of September. What do you think of that, Sam?
It's hard to say. I mean, Nick, anything that's played out in the press, I'm always skeptical. Sometimes I wouldn't read too much into some of these things, but then again, my fandom tells me I have to read it into everything. I don't think this is my opinion. I'm speculating here, so I'm going to preface I'm speculating. So don't tweet out Sam Wu said this, but I'm going to speculate that they're probably not that far off, but it's like what you said. I think it's just a matter of getting certain things done. But I think, in my gut feeling, I think everybody wants to see Taylor's knee and if he can handle an 82 game season. I mean, you don't want to give a guy a $14 million or whatever year contract per year for a max deal, and the guy's only playing 35, 40 games a year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to be concerned about that. And that's maybe, I mean, obviously that may be, part of the bargaining, the not so much bargaining, but kind of the leverage where Ray Shero has there. It's like, well, you're out most of last year, and we're just about to give you the entire bank for you. So you got to worry. You got to
bring truck to a guy with a bad knee.
Yeah, because right now, there are a lot of things going on, and I mean, is Kovalchuk's monster contract still on the books? Are we still paying cap space for that?
Yeah, we're still paying cap for catcher. We have $250,000 for the next 5 years, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's minimal, but it's minimal, but it's kind of like the Bobby Bonilla contract.
I don't want it to linger already. So I've already broken this down. So everybody's like, we're fine. We have $38 million next year. Okay, let me just do this math real quick. Taylor Hall, I'm going to undercut it, 11.5. Nico Hischier, 8.5. Jesper Bratt, 5. Mackenzie Blackwood, 3.5, right? So now you have $10 million left. Then you have Sammy Vatanen and Wayne Simmons and Andy Green as unrestricted free agents. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought back Andy Green because he was a serviceable third line guy. But if they decide to move on, they have faith in some of these rookies, or maybe a Connor Carrick would be a guy who could fill in that role. Then I would highly doubt that they would just say goodbye to Simmons and Vatanen if they both had good seasons. So let's say you bring back Vatanen and you let Simmons walk, or one or the other. If you bring back either of them, one of them is going to cost $5. So now you have $5 million left. If $5 million make any kind of upgrade, whether that's in season or out of season. Do you see how fast that money left?
Yeah, there's no money left.
That's just paying Taylor Hall a fair deal. That's just paying Nico what guys in his situation are making now. That's paying just for Brett 5, which I think is fair. I think between Bratt and Blackwood, they're going to make 8.5. Maybe Blackwood has a really good year. He makes 4. Maybe Bratt's kind of iffy. He makes 4.5. Something. I think that's kind of how it's going to shake out.
And you got to think as well what the mindset is. Look, if they're far off on a deal, and do they go to the Devils? Go to the mindset? Should we have Taylor Hall as a rental, depending upon where the team is mid-season, and take that risk like the Tavares risk in some sense? Or do you trade him away and get some assets back?
I don't want to say the Tavares risk. The Tavares risk, I think, is a bad example because the New York Islanders were kind of out of it. They were kind of iffy, and if the Devils are iffy, you trade him. There's no doubt in my mind that you trade him if you're iffy on the playoffs. Absolutely. I'd rather point to the Stamkos risk, and I guess this is kind of similar because I guess I'm trying to remember. Is that the year that he got hurt and they missed the playoffs? I don't think so. I think that was the year after. So the Steven Stamkos to the Lightning, a lot of people said he's gone. And the Lightning let it ride out all the way till June, and he ended up re-signing. So it's possible, The Lightning didn't want to trade him because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but I believe that they were in the thick of the playoffs that year. I think that was the year he was healthy and he was hurt the next year. They didn't want to trade their best player when, they're fighting for their lives. And he ended up sticking around. He didn't go to Toronto like everybody thought he was going to. So I think it's closer to that if they're in a playoff hunt.
That's true. We'll see.
So again, we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen where people do resign right before unrestricted free agency. And he signed a very fair contract to the Lightning. I think he's only making like 8 and some change. So I don't think Hall is going to take a pay cut like that. I think it's still going to cost you between 10.5 and 12. But I think it is possible that he could get close to the market and he get a deal done. But I also don't want to take that chance. I'm all for getting the assets you can if he's not ready to commit.
Well, Matt Freudenberger writes, Taylor Hall will resign as long as we change the goal song to Hip Hop Hooray. I mean, I thought that tweet was that's hilarious. But I thought that tweet he put out, and did you see? I forgot who responded. Yeah, only if you're here to hear it.
Yeah,
I forgot who. Which devil tweeted
what do you
that?
think, Sam? You cool with all the goal song choices?
Well, I remember when they did Whoomp There It Is back in the mid 90s. I remember when they did that. There's nothing, let's put it this way. I don't think there's anything sexy about these goal songs where I'm like, yeah, it's Jersey, baby. I know Springsteen's on there. My problem with Springsteen is I believe he's a huge Rangers fan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that's true. And isn't Bon Jovi a Flyers fan?
Yeah, or something like that. But you know how these guys are. They're very diplomatic about it. But
to be fair to both of them, they're older. So like the Devils didn't come around until '82. They had their allegiances from when they were kids. So I mean, that's I'm not one for me. I'm not one to give somebody a pass for being a Rangers fan. But at least there's that.
There was and there's I don't know if you remember this group. This is going early '90s hip hop. They're from Newark, Lords of the Underground. I wish they had that song from Lords of the Underground, Chief Rocka. But the problem is nobody knows that song. None of the millennials, they don't know anything. They don't know that freaking song. So,
but here's the thing: this will make the "Hey You Suck" crowd happy. If they do pick Taylor's favorite Hip Hop Hooray, then you can just do Hip Hop Hooray, you, hey, suck. See, everyone's happy, right?
Hey,
Taylor's happy.
That's pretty good.
Two bands happy.
The Hey You Suck fans, yeah, they'll, and then but the thing is, though, Nick, as you know, it doesn't really matter because as soon as it gets quiet, part of the game, that they're going to be like da da da, and then it's going to go on. They're never going to stop it unless they actually bring
find a way.
The old goal song back. But you know what? It's keeping me entertained. I feel like I'm still engaged with the team. They haven't even started training camp yet. I believe it starts this Thursday, right? Tomorrow? Is that it?
What does?
Training camp? I forgot which day.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So starts on Mondays.
Yeah, Monday, September 16th. Yeah, I have tickets for that game. So Redman, Newark, hip hop is a decent choice. You know what? It's time to do something different. But I like the idea, going back to our previous podcast, why do we have to stick with just one song? Why don't we have theme songs for players? If Blake Coleman scores or if Taylor Hall scores and his thing didn't win the nomination, but we play it after he scores a goal and hopefully many, so, there's definitely different ways to play it. But yeah. So, but you never know. This could be a litmus test, Devils fans. He's testing you, see if he's going to resign. I'm not so sure about that, but anyway.
Yeah.
So, switching gears.
This is a litmus test.
Yeah. Switching gears. Let's talk about the Devils prospects up at the tournament in Buffalo, Nick. There were a few games. I only was able to catch 2 of them. Give me your thoughts, your evaluation, and how things went, and what do you think of some of these young prospects?
So I don't want to be the negative one, but there's a lot that I didn't like, Sam. I thought that so the first night was obviously extremely sloppy. But I think that has to do with the fact that they only had that one practice together, and it was that morning, and they just got it that day, or I think they got it the night before. And the Buffalo team had been practicing all week. I think it wasn't a talent problem. I think it was a chemistry problem. So that's kind of where I'm going with the first night. But I see Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes looks like the best player on the ice. Every time he has the puck, he looks like that he's dominant. They put him in between Jesper Boquist and Nathan Bastian, and they just couldn't really sync. Things started to work out better in the second, and they started to really click in the third. But you think guys with that much talent and complementary skills would be able to just go out there and dominate. And I kind of feel bad because it seemed like Jack Hughes kind of got into a couple bad habits towards the end because it looked like he was trying to do it all by himself.
Yep.
And I saw that a lot from Taylor Hall last year. And we know it's frustrating because they try to skate through 2 people, and sometimes they can make a great play and score a goal, and sometimes they just lose the puck immediately. So I believe Tom Fitzgerald commented on that specifically, and he mentioned that players like Sidney Crosby turns the puck over a lot too because they have the puck so much and they're so puck dominant that it's going to happen. I get that. But that also tells me that they saw it as well. So it's something that they're obviously going to not ignore. They're going to try to, I don't want to call it a problem. It's not a problem. It's just a deterrent, but it's something that I would like them to, I think that he can work on. Ty Smith looked awful in the first game, but he looked a lot better in that third game. Controlling the defense, being that top guy. He left a lot to be desired from me on the power play. The power play in general just didn't look great. They kind of had I didn't like the system. I didn't like it was similar to the one that the Devils were using a lot last year that did not work, where they do the pass back and they try to skate into the zone with all 5 guys at once. Do you know what I'm talking about, Sam?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's a very frustrating play style.
For me, Nick, now look, I don't want to be harsh because these kids were pretty much just thrown together really quickly. So I don't want to even grade them because it would be incomplete because I don't think we really saw the potential. But this is what I noticed right from the get-go. It just seemed like I know this is a prospects tournament and they're just putting together. It just seemed like I thought they would be a little bit better prepared to play that first game. But again, I don't want to use that and harp on it or whatever. I was just a little disappointed from a fan standpoint. But as the tournament went on, I just felt, hey, they're starting to get to know each other. And I think that Penn Stater was a Ludwig Larson. That, yeah,
he looked really good.
I was very happy for him for obvious reasons. I know I'm a homer, a Penn State homer, but other than that, look, they played the tournament. You can't base the Devils season on that tournament, fans. I know people are hysterical, and they're down 6-0 or whatever. You can't base anything on that. But I was a little disappointed. It seemed like they were just a bit unprepared. But again, Give them a pass. They were just put together. Now, what did you think about the coverage? Since we're media guys, Matt Lachlan, Chris Westcott, the stream, and everything else, the interviews going on. What do you think about that?
So I think it's pretty obvious that they had a rough first day. You know, the stream kind of had it, and then they put out. I mean, it was bad enough for them to put out a statement saying what happened. And obviously, like, they didn't allow all Devils fans to watch it. You had to be in the tri-state area. Yeah. So, it forced a lot of people to find other means, and that's never anything you want. But they figured that out. The NHL spoke with them, as they said in their statement. They got, and Matt Lachlan was not shy about the reason why they couldn't give it to all Devils fans in that first game. But again, you're probably better off because they went down 6-0. They did well to fight back, but especially a prospect team is going to take the foot off the gas after going up 6-0. So, it was nice to see Jack Hughes score his first goal against true competition. But at the end of the day, I thought the coverage, I thought Chris and Matt, just like the team, was building chemistry as the tournament went on. And I really wish that we had one more game to see them, because that last game, they were balancing really well between kind of like,
Yep.
Yeah. I used to call games for WVU for a long time. And, you kind of have to play that. How much do I want to talk about myself, and how much do I want to talk about the ice and like what's happening on the ice, and how much do I want to talk about the background of the players? Like, it's a balancing act. It's always a balancing act. And, when you're first doing these kinds of things, like, you're going to go back to the things and the things is, you try to interject yourself a little bit more into it, but it's an art. So, it takes reps. And for the fact that they upgraded so much in just 3 games, I thought says a lot. And it looks like that, Chris Westcott's a friend of the podcast, and they're putting him in positions that are interesting. Like, in years past, the Devils these are who our guys are. That's who they are. That's it. We're not, there's no question marks. We don't, like, even with the media people, they're like, this is his play-by-play, this is his color. They're going to do everything. But now they're giving guys and girls a chance to kind of venture out into other things, and I think that they're doing well with it. We're getting to see other talents from other people in their media department, and I think that they're attempting to grow some things.
It was a good start for them. I would agree, and I think the stuff, because I saw Amanda Stein, put out some stuff on that first game, like, don't look at me, I'm trying to help you out here. By giving you some update of the games. I think from a distribution standpoint, I think they were on the NHL platform, which is already automatically geolocked with the NHL center ice package. It seemed like they were on that platform, and you can't just reverse that. But again, I'm just speculating. But the second, third games, they were on YouTube live, and they were fine. So it's, again, when you're building that kind of content, because Nick and I both know, trying to explain to the audience, you have to take baby steps, and it does take time to build. Once you learn from those mistakes, if there are any, or through experience, how to distribute a great product and content. And I think and what I was looking forward to, and I did catch a little bit of the third game, is like what you said, that the chemistry was building. It started to become a well-oiled machine. And this is just prospect tournament. I can't wait for the upcoming season, start to finish, how they're going to do things. Chris Westcott and Amanda Stein and Matt and all the rest of them, how they're going to do for the upcoming season. So I'm pretty excited about that, because nothing beats getting Devils coverage all the time, right? Right, Nick?
Yeah. No, Devils. I mean, I want more and more and more, as much as I can, and that's why, that's why we do this podcast. That's why I write on the blog. That's why you do this thing every Sunday night, because we understand that there's a thirst for Devils coverage, and honestly, like, the Devils doing more coverage hurts us, but we still we still encourage it, because there's only so many hours in the week. There's only so much time that people can spend, but we understand that our product is, I think that we do a good product, and we understand that more Devils product helps the Devils market and will open up the eyes to this team and maybe even draw new fans in. If the Devils are being innovative with how they're using social media and getting their names out there, maybe they can hit an audience that hasn't seen hockey yet, and then boom, there's Devils fans. And then Devils fans are going to look for more content, and then younger Devils fans are going to see that, hey, the Rangers are on TV and that's all they're really doing, and they have a couple MSG specials with us on TV, and MSG Go doesn't have a Roku app and whatever. But then you go to the Devils website, and maybe they're doing their own Roku app. Maybe they have studio shows. Maybe they have talk shows like First Take or whatever. Maybe they're doing innovative things with documentaries on prospects, because that would be really cool. Going through what Pee-wee hockey and junior hockey and all the way, or maybe we'll do a Coming to America, how say Jesper Bratt got there. There's a lot of ideas. New Jersey Devils, for the many, many, many of you that work in the front office that are obviously listening to this podcast, feel free to take any of those ideas. If you want to give me an EP credit, I'd appreciate it. But my point is that if the Devils are innovating the way that they're doing media, if they're innovating the way that they're doing coverage, I think that's a big deal for all of us.
Absolutely. And not to be selfish here, we've got two podcasts. We have the State of the Fan Address with Pucks and Pitchforks, Fansided, but the flagship podcast, the Let's Go Devils podcast, will be back for season 3 this Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern for season 3. And if the Devils are doing content, again, I'm going to be selfish here. This gives us a lot more content, because I'll be listening, and of course you'll be listening. Beer Baron's going to be listening. Shorts Guy's going to be listening or watching, and it gives us a lot of topics to talk about. So it's like, hey, I don't have to find things. I could just watch the Devils and hear what they have to say, and then we can kind of give our spin and take on it, because we're really kind of the conduit indirectly, because we're fans. We're actually fans of the team. That's why it's State of the Fan Address and this and that. So, which is going to be, really, really good.
No, I definitely agree. But more content, less problems.
Yeah, exactly. So, any last comments on these prospects? Is there any one that you may have missed on, because we're just about to close?
The last thing is, we talked a lot about McLeod. I thought he looked decent at the end of the last game. He didn't do what I wanted to do, though. I wanted him to shoot more. I wanted him to be more aggressive with his, decision making on shooting over passing, and he was still just distributing a little bit more than I would like. Maybe that's just who he is. Maybe he's going to be a playmaker over what I thought he was going to be. But I was he was really good at the thing that he's been good at. I was hoping he would have done a little bit more to try to pot some in the net. There was more fights than I expected. Mikhail Maltsev was really good. Mikhail Maltsev took a face off at the end when they that eventually led to the game-winning goal. And when you have Jack Hughes and McLeod and other really good centers, to see that Maltsev was the guy who got that center, that was a big deal. So that's just my final thoughts there.
Yeah, well, you know what? We were all teasing Beer Baron through our group text, Short Sky and I, about Mikey McLeod. And when it came up that he had an assist, and I looked at the replay, he just did a drop pass, and the guy just happened to take it and score. like you can't, again, it's like you can't be always looking at stats. You actually have to watch and see what this all means. Because sometimes I think those assists, secondary assists are so overrated. Where, and I'm not saying Mikey McLeod did anything wrong. I'm just saying that sometimes you could just accidentally touch the puck or accidentally jump on the ice, and your team scores, and suddenly you're +1. So But Nick, thank you very much, and have a safe trip. and we'll definitely be in touch. And
oh yeah, and we'll be back in studio next week.
Yes, next week, next Wednesday, the Standard Fan Address for episode 22. But Sunday, Let's Go Devils podcast season 3 restarts again here on the Let's Go Devils podcast channel on the Primetime Radio Network, powered by Nova Products 9. Till next time, Devils fans, let's go Devils.